Funding for this program was provided in part by Louisiana Healthcare Connections, committed to delivering quality healthcare through local, regional, and community-based partners.
Additional funding provided by the Foundation for Excellence in Louisiana Public Broadcasting.
Surrounded by high technology, the arts are often overlooked and sometimes not given much thought. Not so for Shreveport businessman O. Delton Harrison, instilling into his community an understanding and appreciation of art in its many forms is simply a way of life.
His mother, Bootsy, was a very big opera fan, and I think she got Delton involved in the opera.
Harrison listened to Metropolitan Opera broadcasts when they began in the 1940s, and after the war was over, his parents took him to New York to see his first opera, Carmen.
They used to spend a lot of time traveling, going to New York to see the opera, and Delton's carried it back to Shreveport and helped found the Shreveport Opera Association.
He's gone from loving the opera to being on the Metropolitan Opera Board in New York, so I think he's in a big way there.
I was a senior at LSU, and my mother's family comes from Shreveport, Bossier City area, and I drove up there for the Shreveport Opera competition. I ended up winning, and I met Mr. Harrison. He walked up to me afterwards. He gave me so much encouragement, and he said, you know, I'm very involved with the Metropolitan Opera, and I really believe that you're going to have a career at the Metropolitan Opera, and you have the talent to be one of Louisiana's greatest opera singers. It was just nice to have that encouragement from someone that really knew what they were talking about.
He was one of the founders of the Shreveport Regional Arts Council. He's been involved with the Robinson Film Center. He's on the board of that, on the board of the symphony. And he's just everything he could do in regard to arts. He's been involved in Shreveport.
He enjoys the business of arts. He enjoys the economy of arts. He enjoys seeing the arts as a part of something that form a whole community.
And if the strength of a community is measured by its commitment to the arts, Delton Harrison is someone who puts his heart and soul into building a strong community.
Delton is considered a philanthropist, but Delton is really more than giving money to organizations. Delton's involved very heavily.
His legacy is to not just give birth to an organization, but to sustain it throughout its life.
And to have someone that is that involved and willing to give their time and money to support the Metropolitan Opera, the Shreveport Opera, all the other opera companies around the United States, it's invaluable.
Delton Harrison is a catalyst for the arts in Shreveport. I think his efforts have made Shreveport a whole lot more likable from an arts standpoint.
The thing that amazes me, among other things, is his boundless energy. He is going all the time. And being his sister, I kind of get after him. I say, you need to slow down and not do so much. But you know what? He's not listening. And the old saying, you can't keep a good man down, and that's him. When somebody's given so much of their time and efforts to all these things to make Shreveport just as enjoyable as it can be and a better place, I think it's nice to be recognized.
Good evening, I'm Beth Courtney. You've just seen a biography of one of our Louisiana legends, O. Delton Harrison. And we've just touched the surface of wonderful stories, and we are here to hear more from Delton himself in his beautiful home in Shreveport. Thank you so much for having me.
So glad y'all are here.
We're
old friends, so it's nice to have an excuse, an official excuse to see you.
We are old friends.
Yeah.
That's one of the joys of Louisiana
Yeah,
in the South,
it
knowing people through multiple generations.
That's right.
Do you think that's true?
I think it's very true. Yeah, it happens every day.
Well, you certainly have traveled a lot in the world, and when you travel around, do you bring a little bit of Louisiana with you?
I hope so. I have a tie that has all the ingredients of gumbo on it, and I call it my ambassadorial tie because I wear it when I'm gone. People say, what is that? I say, well, that's the things you put in gumbo.
Oh, that's,
okra, sausage, all that. It's fun.
that's wonderful. Well, people say, sometime when they talk about you, Delton, they say you're a Renaissance man. Now, what does that mean to you? That means you like a variety of things. You're interested in a variety
But
of
does
things.
Renaissance mean reborn?
Well, it does.
That might be nice to be reborn.
Well,
Well, that's a very nice compliment. I think maybe too much so. But anyway, I'm certainly interested in a lot of things that were at their height during the Renaissance in Italy. Arts and music and literature and things like that, which have always appealed to me, all of them.
all of them. I think that in your biography we saw that early on you found an attraction to opera, and your first opera you saw was Carmen.
Yeah.
What was that impression when you saw it in New York,
New York,
right?
I loved it. I just thought it was wonderful. It was just, I don't know, it just kind of took you out of where you were and put you in another world. And I think a lot of people that do like opera, when I ask them, what did you first do, they say the same thing. Well, when I first saw it, I didn't know whether I'd like it or not, but when I saw it, I loved it. And then others, I think, grow to love it the more they hear. But I really fell in love with it the first time, and thank God my parents liked it too.
And so have you gone to the great opera houses of the world? You have?
Well, not all of them, but I've been to several. Yeah, I've been to La Scala and been to Paris and to London. And
I think I've heard that you took a group from Shreveport to see the premiere in San Francisco of Sister Helen Prejean's story, that Dead Man Walking. Isn't that a contemporary opera?
yeah, and Streetcar Named Desire too. They both did it. I don't know whether they were premiered in San Francisco. I have not seen Dead Man Walking, so Streetcar Named Desire. I think the people went with me too, and it was very good. Renee Fleming and everything. It was great.
What do you think when you travel around? What do you think people think of when they think of Louisiana? They don't necessarily put it together with opera, do they?
They think of New Orleans. That's about it. But you ask people, where are you from? I'm from Louisiana. Oh, I love New Orleans.
They do indeed.
Yeah, and I love New Orleans too, but I mean, there's an awful lot in Shreveport and Baton Rouge and Monroe and other places in Louisiana. It's not all just New Orleans.
What do you think is, growing up in Shreveport, what was it like when you were a young person? Was it a small town then? Or it always seemed to me, and you said we've known each other a long time, our families have too, that there was always a certain sophistication, a love of the arts in Shreveport.
I think Shreveport's been fortunate in that aspect, that we have been. I mean, we've had, well, I think perfect proof is our opera and our symphony are both 65 years old. Well, that tells you something. I mean, they haven't dwindled. Mm-hmm. In fact, the opera's doing very, very well, and the symphony is doing very well. And we have the longest running community theater in America, the Shreveport Little Theatre. Your mama was in several plays. I worked backstage when she was my sister Eileen.
Oh, did you ever want to be on the stage yourself?
No, I was too shy. Well, not shy, but just I'd rather be behind the scenes.
Did you ever want to be a singer or play a musical instrument yourself?
I took music lessons, but I never. My sister's very good at music, and she can play anything, but I can't. I'm not. I have chopsticks. I can do, and a few things. If I could read them, I could do them. But I wasn't as much of an interest in doing as I was in seeing and hearing.
And then making sure that it was shared with others.
Yeah.
I love the fact that I think you're president emeritus. You've been head of the Arts Council so long in North Louisiana here that they've made you that. You're proud of everything that's happened there, aren't you?
I am indeed. I think the SRAC organization is great. I think it's been a great booster to Shreveport, downtown, I mean, we've got people going to New Orleans from SRAC doing things down there. We have people coming from New Orleans up here to SRAC. Our opera group, the Sox group, the young people there that are doing the short operas throughout the schools here in Shreveport are being asked by New Orleans people to come down and do operas down there for them. And we just, Friday night, I heard them, they're doing a new opera that's doing called Stop Bully Stop.
Stop Bully Stop.
Stop Bully Stop. And it's really cute the way they do it. It's just fun. And I'm sure when the children get second, third, and fourth grade see that, they love it. You know, they probably go out at reservation and stop, bully, stop. And I hope to God they stop bullying. That's the main thing.
Indeed.
Because that's dangerous nowadays.
Why do you think it's so important to have art in your life? I heard a wonderful quote, I think, from Ken Burns, who was talking about the wonderful producer from public television who said, you know, art, and he was talking about jazz music and other things, That's what makes life worth living. I mean, do you really feel like that too?
Well, I love it a lot. I really do. I don't know that I think it's a very great part of life for me, I'll say that. But I mean, there's a lot worth living if you didn't have the arts. And, I mean, there are wonderful things to do, science. There's wonderful things to do with literature. Of course, literature might well be considered an art, but there are wonderful things in religion and so forth that can make life very much a worthwhile project other than just arts. I happen to think arts are a great asset to it.
Well, you've always been a booster for North Louisiana, and one of the things, I guess, that has been frustrating for people, I know growing up, I would say we were from Shreveport, and they'd say, oh, that's Texas, isn't it? Wouldn't they?
They still, I mean, you know, a lot of people, well, we are so close to Texas, and basically, Beth, when you think about Shreveport, we are more like Texas than we are Louisiana.
You didn't eat crawfish growing up as a child,
Still
did
don't.
You? Still don't?
I'll tell you why. I maybe shouldn't say this, but when I grew up on Richmond, the lady that was my nurse took us outside behind my sister and me back in the back where it was still kind of a dirt road. And there were a lot of little mud holes and so forth. And the nurse would always get a little piece of string and put a little piece of meat on it. And we'd go out there and put those in there, and those little crawfish would just bite, and we'd bring them in and show them. I said, oh, get those nasty things out of this house.
Well, mud bugs.
Yeah, get those little mud bugs out.
Well, you know, we've talked about arts, but you also have always been very active in the Chamber of Commerce and a businessman. Why do you think, it seems like people in North Louisiana have to be a little bit more self-sufficient or something? They seem to plan loops, plan what they're doing. Do you think that's true?
I think our Chamber of Commerce is doing a fabulous job. They just received a wonderful national recognition. And I do think that's very important for the growth of the city to have a good chamber, somebody that represents them in every respect. We also have a wonderful thing called the Committee of 100, which involves the presidents of the top companies.
In Louisiana?
In Shreveport.
Oh, in Shreveport?
Uh-huh. And they meet once a month, and they contribute to and know what's going on and everything. And when somebody says that's a vote from the Committee of 100, you know it's worthwhile because they're doing it and they like it.
Well, you've been involved in a lot of really extraordinary fundraisers. I think that you've discovered ones for the opera and
the Le Boutique.
Yes. Tell me about how you had that idea.
Well, I was in New York, and I was in the hotel, and I said, what's going on up there on the second floor? They said, oh, that's the Christmas shop bazaar thing. I said, oh, so I went up there and looked at it, and there were about 12 or 15 shops from around New York that had little shops up there, and I thought, well, isn't that fun? So when I came home, I told the president of the Opera Guild, I said, you know, that would really be fun for Shreveport to have something like that. So we did it, and we went down to try and get some of the companies downtown to do it. So we went to one of the leading companies and asked them if they'd do it. They said, no, we're not. That doesn't really interest us too much. I said, well, and I told them the name of their opposition. I said, they're very much a part of it this year. Oh, they are? Well, maybe we ought to do it too. And as soon as we left there, we ran over to the other place because we were telling a big lie. But we said, we want you to be a part of it. So-and-so's a part of it. Oh, yeah, well, we'll do it. So that was sort of the beginning of it.
It's been going on successfully ever since.
Very successful. Making over $100,000 each year.
That's a wonderful thing.
It is. It includes everybody. I mean, you can't find anybody, very few ladies in the world who aren't interested in shopping.
Or men, too.
Well, that's true. And they come at night and buy.
Sometimes I think our entire economy must run on shopping because we're always talking about growth of things, and the economic development appears that I have to rush out and buy something.
Yeah.
You know,
I hope people continue to buy. It's the best thing for our economy everywhere. We need that.
Well, another thing that I find fascinating is that you have also been very involved in educational institutions here in North Louisiana, both Centenary and LSU-Shreveport as well. I mean, this is really for future generations where we need to look, is it not?
Oh, yeah. I think I'm so proud of this education in Shreveport. I think Centenary does a wonderful job. And I think LSU-S is a great school. Both of them, and I know professors at both of them, and they're doing a good job. Our new president, David Rowe, is marvelous at Centenary. Great. And another thing we're so proud to have here is Barksdale Air Force Base. I mean, it has been a major milestone in the growth of Shreveport and in keeping it the way it is.
Well, certainly Shreveport Bossier, and I have to say that
Sure.
together, because
that's
Bossier
right.
is where all this growth is going on.
Well, that's where Barksdale is.
Exactly. That's where it is. Do you remember, of course, I remember you from when I was a very early child. We've known each other a long time, but of course my father was at Barksdale. And
Yeah.
do you remember the first time you saw those planes coming in?
Yeah.
And did it
It's
open the world?
Thrilling. Oh, yeah. Still is. I mean, I still get excited when I get on an airplane. I'm a great believer in flying. I think it's made life easier for a lot of people. A lot of people still don't want to fly, but I like it. And I'm a great believer in Delta Airlines. I think they're wonderful.
Don't you wish they'd headquartered here rather than Atlanta?
At least, yeah, I wish
Darn.
they had a jet that came out here. We don't even
Well,
have
we
a
all
jet
think
from
that.
Shreveport. But Baton Rouge has jets.
Well, not too many.
Really?
So it seems that if we only had a bigger international, I think New Orleans and Baton Rouge are so close. We've talked a long time about having one huge airport. But you look back and you think Delta was founded in Monroe.
Monroe.
And the other area, though, that I think this whole Northwest Louisiana has found, the whole oil and gas boom, has had several iterations, hasn't it?
Yes.
Early days of finding
Drilling.
drilling.
Yeah, and all that was wonderful. And a lot of that is still being used and their families are still profiting from that early oil drilling.
The other thing, though, is I guess now the Haynesville shale and natural gas is pumped a little bit more into the economy.
Gosh, yes. Certain people have made just fortunes off of that. I don't have any myself, but a lot of people do.
Some people have.
And it's wonderful. And a lot of the people that are getting that are being very generous with it, which is wonderful.
Which is a wonderful thing, investing back into your community. And that truly is, Delton. I guess as we look at the Louisiana Legends, we've had this series through the years, and we look at people who have had success in what they've done in life.
Yeah.
But the difference is people who then invest back into your own community, where you live.
You know, we have such an important thing here, which I know you know about, called Community Foundation. They do a wonderful job. I mean, when you look at the yearly output of their money, it's just amazing what they do. And so many people who have died leave the majority of their estate, if they don't have children, it goes to Community Foundation. And so that money continues to help throughout life, throughout their life. I mean, even though they're dead, they're still being honored for having given to that charity.
What trips would you like to take in the future? I know you were famous. You came to visit us. We lived in England for a time, and you came and visited us there, and I know you were very big in the English-speaking union at one point.
Love the English.
Do you still love that?
Yeah.
What are the trips, if you could go anywhere, if you could snap your fingers right now, where would you go?
Morocco. I've never been to Morocco, and I'd love to go. Maybe if I live long enough, I may get there.
Morocco sounds exciting.
I think it does, too. And people that go there really enjoy it. I think from what I've heard, I think Morocco still has a very foreign atmosphere to it. I don't know, never having been there. But you go to cities like Paris, and you still have it's kind of like New York or one of those, but I think in Casablanca or some of those, you really have a feeling of a real different kind of world, a different country.
So always looking ahead. I know my father used to tell me that he always liked to know what was coming in the future.
Yeah.
He was always interested in knowing what do we have next. And I guess I can't imagine over his career, it was from open cockpits to landing a man on the moon.
Yeah.
And now where we are is, do you have iPhones? Do you have an iPad?
Yeah.
Are you keeping up with the technology?
Yeah, trying to. It's not the easiest thing in the world, but I'm trying it.
Yes, indeed. Well, things are changing in that, but then they make the world a smaller place where you can.
Oh, they do indeed. I think technology is a fabulous thing, and I think it has improved many, many things. But I think, in a way, it's a deterrent to some other things. I think people have forgotten how to write notes.
That's probably true.
They text.
That's right.
And consequently, stationers are losing those engraved little notepads and the other things that are being hurt. But there are people who are benefiting from that technology.
Well, maybe that's why a Downton Abbey or a Masterpiece Theater on public television is so successful. People look back to another time.
Yeah, I love Downton Abbey, didn't you?
Oh, absolutely.
Can't wait to see the new one.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You all did well with it, didn't you?
Yes, indeed. We did wonderfully.
I think everybody that ever did it has done. People that watched it enjoyed it. People that didn't watch it are sorry.
Absolutely. Well, one of the things that I look around your beautiful home and I see have you collected art through the years yourself?
Well, Mother and Daddy collected most of my things are probably upstairs that I collected. These are more important pieces down here. And they did some nice buying. The purchases are nice. And they've turned out to be very nice and
good investments.
Good investments, yes.
Art is not only enjoyable, but can be a good investment
it
as
can.
well.
I was just reading the other day about somebody who had the picture up in the attic a long time and found out it's a real Van Gogh.
Oh, that's extraordinary.
That? Yeah.
I think I did see a bit of that.
Page
yes,
yeah.
Absolutely. That is wonderful.
It is.
Well, speaking of shopping again, do you like to shop for antiques or art or not? Or just observe?
Beth, as you're sitting here in my house, if you could find one spot that needs something, I would do it. This house is pretty full.
Well, have you thought of sharing things with perhaps a museum?
Well, yeah, I guess, you know what, I'm going to let the rest of the family do all that after I'm gone. Because it would be hard to pick up, I don't know that the museum, we don't have a museum here who could really take that. Maybe the paintings and so forth. But I think the furniture and the porcelains and things like that, I think it could be a place that would eventually do it. I think with the Louisiana State Exhibit Museum is a star museum.
Oh, it is indeed part of the state museum system's extraordinary in Louisiana.
And we have when the Smithsonian Museum man was here, and we became part of the Smithsonian Museum. I guess you knew that. And going back the next one, I was on the plane with him. He was going back to New York, and he said, "Mr. Harris, I want to tell you something. If every state in the Union had what you have there, those dioramas, which tell you what Louisiana produces, it'd be one of the great things of the United States."
That's wonderful.
Yeah, I mean, any child, I think 30 or 40,000 children go through that thing a year, and they love it. Look at all those dioramas, the little people and everything. And I was talking, if you've been out there, I
have.
I don't know how well recent you have, but they have the one large thing of the cotton fields, and it's wonderful. You see the people picking cotton, and you see the man standing there looking at the cotton and the mule and everything in the wagon. And this lady who had worked with Dr. Wright on those years ago, which I guess 45, 50 years ago, 60 maybe, said, "You know something? I worked on that particular one." And she said, "Every piece of cotton there is a Q-tip." Which I just think makes it fascinating. I never go through it again. I don't think, look at all those Q-tips.
I remember they used to have an alligator in the middle over there, too.
Yeah.
I think that's gone now.
I think so.
Yes.
I'm not sure whether he died. I think he died or transferred.
Unfortunately. Well, what do you think of all these reality that shows that it looks like Louisiana is peopled with, I don't know, an unusual group of people. On one hand, Shreveport has benefited from movie tax credits.
Yeah.
And so that's an exciting thing, right?
It is. I hate to tell you this because it's not going to sound good, but I never watch TV. The only TV I watch is LPB and Downton Abbey.
Well, thank you.
I watch you all, but I just don't watch those reality shows, and I don't even watch the news. Well, I just think you all do a fabulous job. And you didn't pay me to say this, but LPB is the best thing that's happened to television in Louisiana.
Well, thank you very much. And I have to tell you, no, we certainly didn't pay you. In fact, you are very generous, and you contribute your time and talent to us as well as all the wonderful charities you've done and arts groups in Louisiana.
But I don't know, I just would rather read than watch television unless it's something like you all are doing. But to watch some of the reality shows and some of these comedies, and I think they're awful. I don't think people ought to be watching them. And not the children. I don't really.
I'm not going to comment because I don't want to offend any of our viewers. On the other hand...
Well, you all don't do that sort of thing.
We do not. We do not. But that's why there's a place for public broadcasting.
It certainly is. It's a very important place.
And, it is, for me, it has been such a pleasure knowing you as an adult together as we have really celebrated North Louisiana, wherever our family lived in the world. We were proud we were from this part of the world. And I think that's what you've always stood for.
Well, you're making North Louisiana, you're making the whole state proud with your LPB, what you've done with it. And I watch it, see the people there when people call in to give money and things like that. I think it's wonderful. And I think the program Downton Abbey and some of the other things y'all have shown have just been fascinating.
Well, I thank you so much for allowing us to be in your beautiful home, and I hope we all remain friends forever and ever.
As long as I'm living and breathing, we will be.
Congratulations on being a Louisiana legend.
Well, thank you very much for the great honor. I really appreciate it.
And thank you all for joining us for this episode of Louisiana Legends.
For a copy of this program, call 1-800-973-7246 or go online to www.lpb.org.
Funding for this program was provided in part by Louisiana Healthcare Connections, committed to delivering quality healthcare through local, regional, and community-based partners.
Additional funding provided by the Foundation for Excellence in Louisiana Public Broadcasting.